Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. This is Poofy, and you are listening into the 0th episode of the Jugular. I wanted to make the Pain Olympics of interviews of strangers who are now friends that I've made across the web. In today's episode, we have a Biogen X2B, 2B for short, and he goes through his coming of age tale as an autistic male in Florida. There's going to be quite a lot of shocking things in this episode. It was extremely fun. Dude did tell a story about how he had trouble tying his shoes well into his teens. And at the end, he does steelman an argument that most would find reprehensible, but I loved it. So I hope you enjoy this episode. A new one will be coming out pretty soon with my good friend Alex. And a link to Biogen X2B's Twitter will be in the description along with mine. My moniker is Poofy, but my handle is Saint Sundere, and it only has one T in it. So you can look in the description of this episode. And just be prepared because this is a cold open starting with 2B.
I used to be pretty nervous about speaking when I was younger, especially speaking in front of people. But I had a lot of experience, whether it was in school plays or reading aloud, to build the kind of confidence that I needed, that I can speak at length, even in a hostile situation or a hostile environment where I'm worried about how people will perceive what I say. And my poker voice, if you want to call it that, I'm able to maintain a very level tone despite it, which it comes with time, but it's mostly just practice. You just have to be comfortable with yourself, and you get used to hearing your own head voice. I don't know if you ever get used to hearing your own voice after the fact, like on a recording, because your head voice has certain elements that not all microphones will pick up. It's one of the difficulties about picking a mic in general, is finding one that actually accentuates the qualities of your voice, because all microphones tend to be different, and there's no one size fits all option, even though just about anything's better than a desk mic. The cheap ones you just plug right into the jack on your PC. But once you get used to it, once you start getting accustomed to the sound of your own voice and speaking at length, knowing that people are listening, as opposed to speaking privately with somebody, which is really easy. Mm-hmm. Then the whole nervousness of how people perceive you, and do I sound crazy, and am I being judged at every single second? You probably sound crazy. You probably don't know what you're talking about. You're definitely being judged, and none of it matters. Pretty much.
So how do I sound on an iPhone?
Yo, you sound great. I've heard your voice from that little singing clip you posted before, right? Mm-hmm. I know that iPhones have a really good quality microphone. A lot of people underestimate just how effective an iPhone is for audio, but it's really good technology for noise cancellation, really good at picking up your voice, and it carries a lot of good mid-range tones. The bass isn't very heavy, the treble isn't very heavy, so it's very easy to understand on a wide variety of listening devices. So it sounds great just about anywhere.
Awesome. Well, hey Sol, hey Russ, hey Augie, and Nadsat. Thank you for joining. This is a very random podcast Poofcast. It's Poofcast IRL. I was just telling Augie that I started Poofcast because that's about when I kind of start tuning out of Timcast IRL. So I told him, I'll just start at 5:30.
That's fair.
I
like the title.
Yeah, the Jugular. That's because I kind of felt like I needed to actualize the type of content that I want to put out, which is more like I don't know if I would say direct. I think visceral is what I'm going for, because direct implies kind of like hardball, but I don't
Yeah.
really feel like hardball is necessary when you're just trying to have a normal conversation. It's just more,
Right.
yeah,
Not so much confrontational as it is unfiltered.
exactly. Thank you. And the jugular is just it's just the affectation that I want on the type of conversation that I want to have. Maybe it isn't an affectation. I just feel like that.
It's a little misleading, I think, but
Yeah.
once you understand it, I think it's not so misleading that you can't use it. It just people might not get the right idea immediately,
Right.
just from reading the title, but it should pretty quickly make itself clear. So it works. It's just like different. There's no title that's ever going to work perfectly for everybody, but I like it. I like the kind of and the way it stands out.
Yeah. And I titled it episode 0 because I promised my colored friend, Alex, my person of color friend, that if I ever did start one, he would be episode 1. That being said, I've actually asked Augie, who's in here, if he wanted to start one because he's fucking wild. But I think that would be more of the Augie show, and I would be a sidekick to that. And I want to kind of bring Augie awareness. It's so hard. It's hard to do. It's like I called him autistic because it's really hard to explain to people exactly what he is, and he's frightening in so many ways. But I think more people need his brand of just I don't fucking care, because what I see on social media is just a lot of I would say people kind of afraid to just be people. Obviously, you don't have that problem. We were sitting there fucking steel manning this argument about gay incest, which we'll get into. But Augie would take that to the next level and just make it really uncomfortable. And I'm like, I need to bring him out to the wider world.
I'm waiting for my opportunity to do that without just coming out with stuff because like people don't operate on that they don't operate on that tempo most of the time.
Oh no,
So
definitely not.
people very quickly because they just assume you're going to go way off into space and they don't know how to keep up. But
Oh.
yeah, I definitely can appreciate that. And as far as I'm concerned, if you need me to if you want to use me as a chaptered episode 0 sequence, that's entirely fine with me.
Yeah, I
This would be
just felt
chapter
like
1 or
I
no, this would be the prologue.
yeah, I think so. And I feel like wavelength wise, I think you and I are pretty similar. And the reason why I say that is because I think you have a hidden menace that is not necessarily bad or evil. It's just a menace that you have that you can use if you want to. So I
It's
think
murderous.
yeah, we kind of
I
operate
have a
on that level.
genocide.
But yeah, it's it's a little and I feel like I operate the same way. People don't really know what I sound like until I talk. So
Yeah.
like when they see me online, I, like a lot, people have told me in DM like that I'm extremely manic. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm really happy. I'm just also murderous. Like I don't know. I just want to like make people uncomfortable.
It's
That
I
being
think
said,
go ahead. Sorry.
that kind of flipped itself on its head when Benjamin asked me to talk to him, because I was doing all this on the premise that I was trying to amuse myself and not necessarily that I was out there to make a name. So to get noticed by any senpai whatsoever, not including Andrew, who that's its own wild story, but just to get noticed and then have someone say, "Hey, hey, you've made a name for yourself by being a fucking weird person on the internet." It was supposed to be flattering, but then I felt the whole time like I was riposting against some like unseen enemy, which I guess I was, because a lot of his lady friends who are his fans do not like my style of talking, and I Kamala Harris through my whole interview. So it didn't help at all with the impression that I have something wrong.
Hose mad.
Yeah, host definitely mad. They just need to calm their tits, whatever. Can we go back to, you were saying that, you are able to, or at least are in the discipline of talking under really adverse situations. So what was the
Sure.
motivation? Were you like trying to get a chick or like be less nerdy or
No. So it was, well, okay. I grew up as a very young kid. I always looked up to my parents and my siblings as the youngest of five, really. My dad had two daughters with another woman, and then my sister and brother, who are the middle and then oldest from my mother. So I've always been the youngest around everybody. So I grew up with a complex of inferiority, especially with regards to intelligence. Very quickly did I start to realize that people were doing things that didn't make any sense, and when I would question them, they would have no answers, or I would catch them in a lie, or I'd catch them making shit up. And I started to develop an arrogance based on my experiences, which is helpful and also hurtful at the same time, right? It's constructive and destructive because you have to know how to use it, and I took a lot of years to learn how to use it correctly. But essentially, I've come to have a pretty good sense of when I'm smarter than people and when I'm right and when they're not. And so for me, being correct is more important than being right. But if you can't argue someone's point, argue against someone's point, then you don't really have much of an argument, right? Like they say something is X and you can't answer to it, and you just say no, you're stupid, and that's it. Then you might as well have just conceded. So I've always challenged people once I started getting the sense that they didn't know what they were talking about. From there, it became very easy for me to share things. Like I remember when I was in fourth grade, some kid was trying to tell me that semen came out of the sides, and I was trying to tell him that it came out of the pee hole. And he and his friends were telling me that I was wrong, and the teacher couldn't say anything because you weren't allowed to teach that in school at the time. That was for middle school. So he just looked at me funny. He knew I was right, but the kids didn't, right? But it didn't matter the peer pressure of conforming to a group so that everybody likes you has gotten weaker and weaker to the point where I don't care if literally the entire world disagrees with me. There's so many different topics that I differ on people's opinions of the people around me, and that was before I became like a political outcast in a lot of senses. I live in like a blue city in a blue area in Florida. Very few conservatives here that are willing to admit that they're conservatives, or before Trump anyway.
Oh.
So I've had a lot of experience to steel myself towards it, but ultimately the whole goal of it was just to search for the truth and to be unashamed of that goal.
Wait a minute. I feel like there's a lot to kind of get through, and if you'll pardon my woman moment, okay? Because I'm hearing a lot of subtext, and it might just be me, but bro, you sound autistic as fuck. Like literally, like
It's very possible. It's
like
very
I think
likely.
that's a tell right there when you say like, hey, it's better to be correct than to be right. Like that's the most fucking autistic. That's like their anthem. If they
Is it
had like a
really?
Germanic anthem, it would be that. Just say that in German over and over again. I think that's anyway.
Well, I can give you a quick example of that too.
Oh
I
shit.
had friends growing up that hated when I would correct them, and I'd correct them all the time. They hated it because I made them feel stupid. Those were their words. Like they despised me because I made them feel stupid. But to me, if I got something wrong, I wanted my friends to correct me so that I wouldn't look stupid in front of other people.
But they wouldn't do that because it's a
Right.
decorum thing, right?
Right.
Oh, not
Exactly.
me.
And I
I'd be
never.
like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Right.
Anyway,
So they never understood that, but that's one of the experiences as an example.
so Maple flavored opinion said, I would happily be a famous weirdo on the internet. I don't know if that's like I get it, because there's some level of renown, but I'm really one of my goals with the visibility is to get, you know, all these suckers to go watch Andrew's channel. That's really like one of my big things. And he also said that your story describes his life since he's legitimately autistic. A skill issue. He is super autistic, just saying. So he's like, hey, like he listened to your story. He's like, that's me. I'm him. I'm really him. And Guy
Yeah.
Stoic says being a conservative in what's PNW? I'm so sorry. PNW.
Pacific Northwest.
Oh, was counterculture and punk rock. That
It
shit.
is. It is. It really is
Yo.
punk.
And gay, kind of. Like, why are you a conservative, dude? Okay,
Well,
so
yeah. If you're doing it just for the counterculture, that's. Ugh.
okay, so I'm gonna just try to ask the right questions and get the wrong answers. The
Okay.
first one is I feel like okay, because like it's super anime, right? Where you have a there's like a mission, but it's more of like a philosophy because you've already decided from a young age that you were going to be correct. Was there a defining moment where you're like, you know what? Because you prefaced by saying it was because you grew up with five. Wait, you are the fifth sibling, or you have five siblings?
I'm the fifth.
You're the fifth. But that doesn't automatically say that you need to prove yourself. I will use myself as an example. I'm the fucking favorite. I am the youngest. I have four siblings.
Oh wow.
And they 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 babied me, and it just so happens that I didn't turn into a serial killer. So I didn't really have to prove myself to them beyond them bullying me. So what was the defining moment where you're like, I am now this person because of this thing?
Probably, I was bullied by everybody. I was bullied by the people that I called my friends. I was bullied by my brothers and my sisters. My
Why?
brother and my sister. Um, Probably by my brother and sisters because I was favoritized by my mother,
Oh
right?
no, you were a nerd. So you weren't just
And I was
autistic, you
also
were
a
also
very small child. I
oh
couldn't see through the peephole in the front
no.
door until I hit puberty.
Oh, skill
I didn't get my
issues.
growth spurt until about 13 years old, and then I went bloop.
Oh shit. So were you
Yeah.
like 3 feet and then you grew into like a 6 foot fucking juggernaut? You're like, don't
Yeah, I
fuck
was
with me.
like, I couldn't break like 5'2" for a long time. I think something like that. I never really took my height when I was that young. I was, like I said, I was babied. I left literally everything to my mom. Part of a problem with our family that she would do things without like explaining anything to anybody else. You just took on responsibility and you just assumed that the way it was. Um, I didn't know how to make ramen until I was forced to when I was 19. I was too insecure about boiling water. Literally boiling
Holy
water, just
shit.
that. It's pathetic, right? And so when you, this is what I mean about inferiority complex. You just assume that these things are normal for you, to the point where you develop an anxiety about things that are absolutely normal life for everyone else around you. And for me, it started with not wanting to be so small and so weak and getting picked on by everybody and not being able to do things. And like
And life
when I was,
experience and all that. Because I'm gonna
well, like
assume. Yeah.
yeah, one example is just me getting bullied as a kid, right? I had found a little green beetle and I put it in a shoebox with holes in it. And I showed it to my brother because I thought it was so cool. And he used it as an excuse to teach me a lesson, which is a really fucked up thing to do to a kid, by the way.
Holy shit.
By
Okay.
we had a desk and we had a dresser, right? And
Uh-huh.
I was like 7, and I was a small child for 7. I was scrawny. I had no muscles. He's 3 years older than I am and fat. He had muscles because he had to move around, right?
Okay.
He convinced me to get into the open area on the bottom of the desk, right, which was closed all around it. You couldn't crawl out from behind it.
Uh-huh.
And then he put the dresser and closed it up to the point where I couldn't escape,
Oh
and
my
stuffed it with blankets, and then put the radio on high and left me there for 2 hours. And I
what?
was screaming to get out.
What happened with
That's
the
probably one of the
beetle? What?
he got rid of it. He took the beetle and he threw it, and he was teaching me a lesson about how I was making the beetle suffocate. Never mind that it was a tiny little beetle and there's plenty of air for it, right? Everything about that's ridiculous.
Oh my
It was just
God.
abuse. But I remember that moment. Every single day of my life, I remember that moment and how angry I was and how powerless I was. And that it's kind of a defining characteristic of a lot of my experiences, that I was like too short, too weak, can't run, I got asthma, oh no, right? But every
Oh.
single thing that has held me back, I've been able to overcome with sheer effort that I was too afraid to make, that I was too afraid to exert, that sort of thing. And so little by little, as I just got angry, right? I channeled it in some positive ways and some negative ways. I think the most positive ways were that I was going to overcome all my weaknesses and not have to rely on people to be able to say that I'm not. I don't want to say that I'm this weak guy. You know, I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to stand on my own two damn feet.
Right.
And where it comes to being correct, I think that's part of it. Is I relied too much on other people's information. I relied too much on trusting other people to know the answers to things that they didn't know. And the more I got into computers, because I loved them, right? I loved computer technology. The more I started to outpace everyone around me to the point where they had no idea. Like, people were confused about basic terms and basic relationships, logic. When I discovered that logic was something that people didn't understand, that was, you know, one of the many milestones.
That was your
But
anime superpower. Facts and
basically,
logic. Holy shit. That was your
so
Gundam.
yeah, so it started with that extreme sense of powerlessness, and then as I toughened up through the, I'm not going to get too far into it, but lots of abuse. I learned, instead of becoming a psychopath, right? I learned how to protect myself to the point where I can start protecting others. And one of the ways that I protect others is by, I like to think, by correcting their ignorance and helping them learn. So it's be correct, right?
Can I just say I'm still stumped? Like, I feel like I'm missing something. Is that fair for me to say?
Totally fair, because I feel like went on a huge tangent and almost lost myself.
No, I don't think that you did. I feel like on the way it did answer a couple things. Um, and short of kind of asking more sordid details that, frankly, I am not interested in because I like who you are. And I don't really want to relitigate some of those experiences. I'm
You
like,
can, if you feel it necessary.
you
Don't
sound
feel don't do it on my accord.
okay. You sound like a dude that's at least kissed a girl. Okay, so that's where I feel like I'm missing something
I'm
because
not a virgin.
okay, you're not a virgin. Nice job, dude. Can I give you some emojis? Is this a high five? What is this? Oh, here goes. More power to you.
I will take
Okay,
that high
good.
five. Thank
So now can I just can I just say, now that we know that you're not a virgin, I'm so glad you're able to intuit what I was really.
you.
So now that I've said that, um, where was that experience in your journey? Was it after you like had a growth spurt and you're like, fuck yeah, dude, I've
It was
got this?
college. As Chef said, 17.
Oh shit.
Literally 17. So I skipped a year of high school,
Oh
and
shit.
I went to college at 17.
Whoa, you got college poon when you were 17?
I did.
Yo, what a Chad, bro. Great job. I'm like a manosphere podcast by accident. Great job.
Thank you.
So what who made
I
the
was
move?
lucky enough that I could manage to make that milestone at 17, because it was like 2 months before my birthday.
Oh shit, you did it. Wait, so what happened? Were you like did you try and like go out of your way or
No, it was my friend's cousin, and I didn't think she was pretty at the time. I thought she was ugly, but she
Okay.
kept. I like dead ass. I thought she was like not the kind of pretty woman that I wanted. She was just like, she was nice. I liked her as a person. I thought she was a kind person, and we could laugh about stuff, and she had interesting things to say.
Jesus, I
But
don't feel insecure at all. Like, I have
well, she
fucking
grew on me. She
okay.
grew on me very quickly to the point where like she had this weird birthmark on her ear. It was not a birthmark so much as like one of her earlobes was practically missing. So there's just like a missing triangle, like a triangle of just missing stuff that should be beneath it, and the rest of the ear was fine. And for whatever reason, it repulsed me the first few times I saw it. Like literally, I wanted to throw up. That's how disgusting it was to me, because I was just like shocked and stunned by it. It looked like I'd never seen something like it before, and it was really negative. But after like a couple of weeks, I just stopped caring, and I no longer was bothered by it.
It was the
And
post
it was
nut clarity, man. The post nut clarity. You're like,
no,
I got fucking laid. This is a hole. That's a hole.
well, so really what it was is that I fell in love.
Oh
Because
no,
yeah,
really?
so
Oh
we
wait. Pop.
yeah,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
There's,
Here's how we're gonna do this.
okay.
And here's how we're gonna do this, because I feel like we're celebrating too much here. So
Okay. Well,
I feel like we're celebrating too much here. No.
one thing I wanted to mention about that's just a phenomenon and not necessarily my. I mean, it's my experience, but it's not about a personalized experience.
Okay.
Which is that when you go through that experience and you fall for somebody, their appearance changes to you. Your perception of them visually changes, and you stop noticing their blemishes so much, and they start to look more attractive to you. So
That is true. I think that's more true for guys. Can I be real with you? I think women by default do see men as a concept. So they will be physically attracted to that man based on the concept of what the woman is projecting onto him. And I say projecting because I don't think women really understand men. But I think for guys, it is kind of like an anamorph situation where like the girl becomes more kawaii and in a sense turns into a cute animal the more that they love them. uh, I see all the time, like my brothers were my first example of that, where the more that you knew they were fucked when they were petting their girlfriend and like basically thinking she's the fucking cutest little animal ever.
yeah.
And you know what, why I think that is though, is because protecting a cute animal is it's very instinctively easy to conceptualize and to do, whereas like protecting a woman, I think it doesn't really seem to sit well with guys these days, especially
Ah.
chivalry and other concepts. Like whenever I try and ask someone, okay bro, about chivalry, all I get is just a fucking wave of text and or phone call about how it's dead.
Oh.
But it's patently untrue, because the minute they fall in love with a woman, they're literally white knighting for a cute little bunny or like some other cute
Yeah.
animal.
Instantly. Yeah. I don't know if it's a difficulty with regards to how they perceive the idea of protecting a woman. Maybe it is, but I'm very old fashioned in that sense that or you could probably posit something else about a lack of self value. I don't know what you would hone on it, but I don't have an issue with defending women in public, for instance. But for
Wait,
me,
like verbally or like punch out?
physically, jump in
Okay.
front of a bullet, that sort of
Okay.
thing. That's not an issue for me at all.
But not
At
necessarily
least,
there, not necessarily like verbally though.
well, I would do it. I would do it verbally too,
Okay.
if I felt it was necessary. Of course, if she's talking shit to her man the entire time and then he talks back, she did that. So I have very they're not all traditional um, habits in that regard, but I still fill, I think, a plurality of those roles, if not a majority.
Yeah.
Um, at least I believe to. I do so internally. I haven't been in a lot of situations where it was necessary, but I've been in some, and I've taken action accordingly. So I can at least confidently say that is a true part of me, even if I don't know how strong it is. Um,
But how much of that is traditional chivalry versus your feeling that now that you are in a position to be able to protect other people, like you know what I mean? Because for some people,
Yeah.
chivalry is an actual like trad concept that they adhere to, and something maybe their dad taught them or some
Mhm.
shit, right? But
So I think I like to think of chivalry in the way that it was introduced as a concept in the Renaissance, was it? Or just medieval times,
no idea.
where, as far as I understand, it is identical. So if there was a weak man, you would defend him the same way as if that was a woman, unless that man, right, was challenging another man, in which case it's a man's honor. And so you would just let them go about it. He made his own bed. Because for men, our reality is very stark, and it has to be, right? We can't challenge another man and expect to get away with it. Because that, you're a scrawny little man, and you start trying to push around some big dude, he's going to punch you, and you
Yeah.
know that because it's going to happen. To people who try that enough, they'll have already experienced that. Everyone has that expectation as men.
Everyone already
Women,
fafoed, right?
exactly. Women, not so much, right? That's it. Some women know, some women don't. Clearly, but where a chivalrous gentleman, which is the whole idea, the word gentleman has been diluted. I've heard that somewhere. Um, I would defend a man just as quickly, because justice is one of the virtues that you're meant to uphold.
And dudes
Um,
rock, man. Like you should always
Thank you.
defend. So a few comments. Maple flavored, he's feeling this shit, bro. He's like, dude, you're my autistic brother in arms.
Let's go.
Um, he said he didn't struggle so much with the cause because he has pretty green eyes and he views his fiance as a scary bear and not a cute animal, which is a patent lie. She's probably like a Charmin bear or some shit and fucking loves it. Gnome says, this is great. I don't know if he means like the podcast in general or some moment, but I'll assume he thinks the podcast is great. Dark Tide says that moment when I'm not a virgin is a high five moment in 2023. It is like
The
like
state of America.
dude, like women are trying to cuck men even in their own mythology about themselves and trying to make it seem like men never get laid anymore. And when I asked, I was being facetious, but I also wanted to be sensitive to the fact that maybe you wouldn't be, and I wouldn't necessarily see that as like impugning your character. I just want to be respectful. But I
Oh,
think
sure.
women do assume that, and I'm not saying women in the right wing sphere. I believe that a lot of
All over.
like entertainment is geared toward making men look like dumbasses. Um,
Yeah.
Guy Squig says this is a great unpacking trauma session. And even Augie of all people. Oh my god, I think we just fucking won the
He's
internet.
right
He
about some
said
of these stories, at least. I mean, and
he's
I never, no one ever knew about that desk story. I never told anyone
oh shit, I'm great at
my
this,
entire
aren't
life.
I? Dude, I'm like amazing at this.
It was, though to be fair about it, it was just, there was never really good reason to bring it up. So thanks for giving
Okay,
me one.
well, but I am awesome at it. I just
Yeah.
sort of I'm kidding. Augie says he feels so normal right now. We totally won the internet because I mean the whole reason why I wanted to highlight him is that I think he's fucking insane and well, not obviously not insane, but like fucking insane enough where I think people would be like, "Whoa, what is this?" But if he feels normal, I think this means that I could probably get him to actually do the Blood Feud podcast, which you are welcome to come and steal, man, because it's going to be wild. So I just wanted to pause for a moment to say thanks to everyone who's in here and putting up with this. I did see Callie join, Dark Tide, obviously, Constitutional, who fucking BTFO Jack Posobiec recently, just
Let's go.
with his own beautiful profile picture. Jack Posobiec tried to fucking own him by like posting his profile picture because of this whole Pitbull thing, right? This whole Pitbull thing, which is supposed to be some sort of like blight on his character. But all it did was just make everyone extremely mad at Jack Posobiec. And they're like, yo, what the fuck, dude? His profile picture is beautiful. He's beautiful. His dog is beautiful. And people are like hella mad. I'm like, whoa, man. Imagine being so like American gorgeous that everyone just goes and attacks some fucking dude with like like hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're like, "Fuck you, man!" So he won. He won just by existing and by putting his own face on the
So that's a strong argument.
you know? So I'm just saying, you're not a virgin. He's probably not a virgin. I'm telling you, man. There's tons of dudes out there who have gotten laid
Yeah.
at least once, and I think maybe my podcast is about finding out when that was. I don't know. So can we go back to the girl, and can I ask extremely invasive questions that might offend you?
Any question that I'm not willing to answer, I will just tell you that I'm not going to answer. So
But
you can ask whatever you like.
can you do it in a way that's very rude? Like, fuck you, I'm not going to answer that.
Sure.
Okay, I appreciate it. So the girl, did you have a mental nickname for her?
No. I never referred to her by her first name. I always gave her pet names, Honey and Sweetie. But that was it. It wasn't a mental nickname. It was just something I always called her. To the point where she didn't want to hear her first name because it made her uncomfortable.
Oh, because did you ever use it as like a power play to like make her feel uncomfortable? Like, by calling her by her first name?
When we would fight, if she would get unreasonable and she wouldn't listen sometimes, like occasionally.
Is she dead or
No,
is she still alive?
No, she's married to some dude.
What did you do? Or was it was just natural? Like,
well, remember how I said that I was too afraid to do things that I should have been able to do that everyone else was capable of?
Yeah.
Part of that was that I was living off of her money like a mooch. It was bad. So I loved her, but I was also extremely irresponsible.
Well, you were 17, right? So this is how long did this go on? So you were
23.
Bro, what the?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So you were 17. So were you living with her and going to college?
I was going to college, and then I was living with her and going to college, and then I was living with her, and then living with her and working. And
what is this inverted Chad moment? You're like, hey girl, you you lose your Virgan, and then you go to college.
So it was a milestone, right? When I dropped out of college like twice. And I couldn't hold a job because I couldn't hold a job because any time that I could take a day off, I would, even when I shouldn't. I had a really bad habit of doing that. And I was really like, you couldn't motivate me to go to work. Even though I was making good money, I didn't want to go. And it was really, really bad.
Why?
I didn't want to go, and I didn't have to go because technically she could afford to pay for the apartment, even though we were both dirt broke if we did that. Right.
Were you
and so I would allow
to play
myself.
WoW, or what was going on? Like,
yes.
Oh, I knew it. I fucking have you nailed, man. Like
well, it wasn't that initially, but it became that.
Well, right? What was it before? What was the initial?
It was just me being irresponsible.
Why? Like, you had
because of an irrational fear and an irrational anxiety over the things that anybody else could do. Like when I had to, for instance,
the ramen at 19.
There was the ramen, making regular meals. I'll explain something to you. It wasn't until I want to say 2022 that I started making pasta by using the kitchen timer feature on my microwave to track how long I'm actually boiling my pasta so that it's not boiling there for 20 minutes and I'm not burning down the kitchen. And I swear to God, I spent more than 10 years of my life making pasta by just letting it go until I came back and it looked like it was ready.
I'm sorry.
Right. The instructions are on the fucking box, okay? All I had to do was read. It says al dente in 7 minutes. Cool, I'll cook it for 8. That's it. 8 minutes. Can I put some music on? Yes, I have a computer and speakers. I could literally just listen to one track from Onmyoza, which I had at the time, no problem, and cook to my heart's content and have the food ready, nice, done, easy, and eat. It would be no problem. But I never took a responsible approach to a lot of things, and I was uncomfortable doing so. But it wasn't rational. It was developed. It was almost like a Pavlovian response.
Sorry. I appreciate your candor, though. This is what I wanted. This is horrible, and I love it.
A lot of people go through that and don't know how to verbalize it, to be honest.
So
I didn't
we
then.
we have like about 19 minutes, so I'm not going to rush you at all, because if
Sure.
it's a cliffhanger, it's a cliffhanger. I don't really care. I just don't want people to feel like they're sitting in something endlessly. Even though I think it's interesting, I'm sure that the people who are in here think it's pretty interesting. You're
Just make
weird,
sure you
bro.
write. Thank you. Write down some points if you want to catch them next time, so you don't forget.
Oh no, I don't forget. Anyone, like, dude, Augie and Cheetacus will tell you, I just don't forget stuff. I care.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm like that. But anyway, so your girl, right? What was she
Hmm.
there to witness the first time you made ramen?
Yes,
Oh my god. Wait, was it a nice moment or just not an
it
okay moment?
was. It was
It
a
was
very nice
nice.
moment.
Did she teach
Yes,
you?
she did. She taught me how to tie my shoes. When I say that, like, there are things that I couldn't do. Like this is an autism moment, though. It's not quite the same.
I
You ever
don't know.
thought?
This is an anime autism moment. Like, dude,
No. Okay. So when people tried to teach me how to tie shoes, right, and they take the shoes, they make the single knot, and then they make the loop, and they run it around, and it goes through. I'm paraphrasing because I can't really visualize it the way that when they do it in front of you, I could never make the connection because I couldn't see where their hand went because it would cover something.
did you have to
Naturally, what would
face the same
process?
direction as the screen and then keep
I
turning
wouldn't.
toward
What
the
the
screen?
fuck is
There were no
happening? Al
screens. This
dente.
is the 90s,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
This is
Dark
like
I don't know how
says,
to do a
bro,
bunny
you didn't
tie
even
or a
try
bunny
to
loop or
throw it
whatever the
on the
fuck that
wall,
is.
man.
that's the
Not
Just
that's
a
the
see if it
TV.
was
the bunny loop is
right.
just make a
Damn,
knot
man.
with 2 bunny ears. That's it.
He also
It's the
so Noam
easiest.
says this is
Motherfucker,
a
I don't
solid
fucking know how
therapy
to do that, so
session.
let's
Do you know how to make a
move
knot?
on.
You.
No,
I'm not.
fuck
Do you
you.
know?
I'm not
for
going
the
to talk about it. It's
specific
okay.
one, but I'm sure that
Anyway,
people
so my point
getting their
is
rocks off to
my
hear
point is
the
that
catharsis that is
Okay.
talking about the first time that
I
they ever made
learned
ramen when they
she
were
taught me how to tie a
19,
shoe
that they might
when I
want
was
to
17 years
actually use
old
my
because
services. If
nobody
you
up to
do,
that
just
point had been
DM
able
me.
to because
I do
nobody took
charge
the time
$200 an
to
hour.
slow it
That's my
down when I
going rate. I
asked
don't
them,
have
I don't
credentials,
understand
and you just gonna have
this
to deal
last
with
step.
it.
I don't understand what you
Dark
did.
Tide says
And
my
she
screen
took the
name is so
time
tied to me.
until I got
IRL
it.
people call me
And I cried
DT.
that time.
Hell,
I
I
cried at
think
that
my
moment
G have forgotten
because
what
I
my
had
name was
spent
for the first year.
17 fucking years of my
So
life
she's like
not
literally
knowing how to do
fucking
this
like
one thing that was
in
so
the middle of nutting,
embarrassing
and she's like,
that everyone thought I was
DT.
ridiculous and stupid. It's so embarrassing.
Anyway,
probably thought it was cute,
so
though.
that was all the
I would
Yeah,
comments.
bet.
Wait,
it
let's
was a
go back.
heartfelt,
Okay,
touching moment.
so we
Oh
15
my
minutes
god.
left.
Oh
You want to
shit, it
leave on
touched
a
her
nice note,
cocoa.
or
It warmed her
not
cocoa.
okay note?
Yeah,
You
this
feel
is
like
your
it.
show. What the fuck are you
So
asking
I
me?
have just some other comments for
Damn,
you.
all right.
Alex,
All right, well then
who
let's
I
leave
did
on a
promise
feel good
episode
note, because
1
I'm
to, which is why this is
scared.
episode 0, says Poofy has
Okay,
a
so with your
defaming
girl,
kink.
right?
Just thought you
Yeah.
all should
So
know.
did she
That's
have a
not
fetish
true. I
for
am
someone who just fucking
self-defaming.
didn't know what they
Okay,
were
I'm
doing,
not
or
here
was
to
she just
defame
really
anyone
in love
else.
with
I'm
you?
here to
And were
fucking
you her
lift you up
first?
like
That
a
was a lot of
push-up
questions.
bra.
I
Okay,
was
so
her
shut the fuck up.
fourth.
Noam says, okay.
Yeah. She was I think she had been with guys her age. She had been with guys a little younger. She was 19 and I was 17.
Okay.
And she was a cradle robber because I had a very young face. I think that's
I'm
pretty
uncomfortable.
clear to me now.
Oh
Yeah. She liked how innocent I was.
no.
The long story short, things started to fall apart when I became more confident and less innocent.
Oh. I want to hear
She
her
didn't know how to
story.
express that, but it was well, the kinds of fights that we would get into, the sort of like disagreements we'd find ourselves in. She would complain about how I'm not so nice and cute like I used to be, and that was just me.
No.
That was me not growing into the man that I should have been, which is like kind of feels
Wait,
bad.
so
I mean,
like
it's not
is her
not
husband like a
creepy.
midget, or what the fuck? Is she
He was like 7 years older and
what?
6'4",
What?
big fucking guy. The only picture I ever saw, he was like a completely different.
What
It was really
happened?
well. So I broke up with her because she wanted to take the relationship and turn the clock back. Like, I want you to be my friend again. After basically, my mom had died in 2009. I was going to go back to Miami to go get a job. Right? She asked me if she wanted me to have her keep paying for the apartment. She felt bad because my mom had died. And I could have taken that opportunity to take advantage of the situation, to not have to move and to continue depending on her, right? I said, that would be very fucked up of me. I've been a fucked up person up to this point. So
Yeah.
let me do let me take responsibility and finally act like a goddamn man and tell her, don't renew it. Go get your own place. I'm going to figure some shit out.
Oh
I
shit.
forgot her while I was busy couch surfing and being homeless in Miami. It was for about the course of a week. I forgot her birthday.
Oh.
She wouldn't let that go.
Oh.
No matter, like, my mom had died. I was couch surfing. I was on the brink of having all my shit thrown out on the street, and I forgot her birthday, which I couldn't. I to this day I don't remember which month. I think it's in July. I don't remember which day of July. It's like either the beginning or the middle, right? It's either somewhere in the tens or somewhere in the 20s. I couldn't tell you. And then it
Dude,
was the same thing.
I'm
It was just a
getting
thing.
such a vaporwave aesthetic vibe, July Miami. Like I can't even like this is like the most saddest Ryan Gosling moment I've ever witnessed in my own
Oh
head.
man.
Like
Well,
Blue
well. So
Valentine. Have you seen that
yeah.
movie? Okay.
No, I haven't.
Okay, don't watch
Sorry.
it. um
Okay. And anyway, to close that, right? I let her go because it was clear that our relationship wasn't working, and she
yeah.
wasn't happy with me, and she excommunicated herself from me and blocked me on everything. And I've not spoken to a single word to her since. But maybe things are better that way.
Well, no,
So
that was actually generous of her because there's so many games that us women, including myself, can play if we want to, and I think she did a very honorable thing.
yeah. Although
As
there'd be
his
no benefit for her to do
histrionic.
that.
I'm sorry.
There would have been no benefit for her to do that, I think, because I had no money, but I could surmise a way where she would, no, stay, and then abuse me if she were that kind of person. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that despite it being harsh and it crushing me for a while, taking a long time to get used to, it was some method of closure as
yes.
opposed to not having closure.
No, yeah, it gets really bad out there, dude. I think for a first love, which I'm assuming, um, or at least a first serious love, I think that's the right thing to do if it doesn't end up well. I think as we get older, it's easier to kind of maintain a platonic relationship with someone, but I like to joke around with people, you know, people I've seriously dated are either dead or married. So like, cuz I
Makes
don't
sense.
yeah, no quarter. But I think for the last 10 minutes, I wanted anyone, if they wanted to call in, so to speak, to ask you a question, they could. Anybody? Anybody want to ask
Oh,
him about his pasta?
use the raise hand feature.
Yeah, use the raise hand feature or the fist emoji or whatever. No? All right.
There's
Well,
a
we
it's
got,
a request the request speaker function if you come up with something.
yeah, just let me know. Again, thanks everyone for being here, and thank you. Do you like to be called Biogen X 2B or 2B?
Most people shorthand refer to me as bio or biogen.
I think I'll call you
Whatever's
2B. I'm gonna call you 2B.
you did.
That's what I'm gonna call you because it just reminds me of near.
Oh, we have one request to speak. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
get
ahead
him.
and approve Dr. Alex Xavier
Uh
Cherry.
oh. Uh oh.
Did that work?
It looks like he's in.
All right.
Alex, are you there?
Yeah. Okay.
Hi.
So I'm on the bus, so I'm gonna make this quick, basically. All right. Hold on one question. How in the
You sound
Um.
very far away. I can't understand you.
Yes.
hold on 1 second.
I think he's driving. He might be driving.
Oh,
Oh, I see another request. Oh,
Okay.
Jesus.
Do I sound better?
Not by much, but at least I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I just want to know how in the hell have you not known how to tie your shoes in 17 years, bro?
okay. So I'll explain it again. Um, when people showed me what they were doing, I couldn't see their hands when they went into the last two maneuvers of the normal way of tying your shoes, right? So I learned the bunny ears because it was something that I could see the whole way through. And so they would just say, and then you do this or you put it through here, and they wouldn't show me exactly where you put it. They just assume that I know what they're talking about, and they would just give up. So I'm the
Okay.
kind of person that needs to learn very specifically, like with very explicit step by steps. Most of the time, I couldn't, for whatever reason, I couldn't intuit in my head at the time how to do it, and then I just gave up on it throughout the rest of my childhood because I already found a technique that worked instead.
That's tough, bud.
What?
All right. So you want to take Russ?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Russ, you are approved. I think.
Yeah. Meow.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
You had a question?
Not so much a question, more like a statement. I think you're doing really great, dude. Like, keep it up.
Yes.
Also,
Thanks.
Poop is probably gonna hate me for this, but let's go Blues! We're winning 4-2. I had to. You didn't read my comment, so I had to. So
I'm sorry. I tried my best to read all the comments. I thought I did okay.
it's okay. I love you.
I love you too, man. Oh, there it goes. Oh, I see his like little big eyes there. I did that in the last one. They asked me to. I think it was. I don't remember if it was like an Andrew podcast or something.
No, yeah, it was.
I did do it.
It was one of the spaces,
Okay.
and Andrew was like, "What the heck does that mean?" And I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah, sports ball moment.
Yeah, even though there's no balls in hockey whatsoever, like it's just like okay, yeah.
Wait, what's hockey?
That's kind of an offensive statement.
I mean, little bit,
I like it.
but yeah, no, seriously.
So
great.
you know what?
It sounds like something a football fan would say.
So Sheet says, I'm trying to work here, but I keep remembering all those embarrassing times telling a psychologist my life story.
Oh
I'm
no.
sorry, Sheet. Oh my god. He's probably fucking having a PTSD moment while he's like fucking cramming right now.
Oh man. I gotta apologize too, dude. My response to Alex, I was initially very hostile to that question. I shouldn't have been. I think I
No, that's
fixed that.
okay. I
No,
mean,
came
it
through.
was already set up, and he's also very confrontational, so he was just doing it to
Yeah. Well, no, it was just like I already answered that question,
Yeah.
but okay. But that totally was. I should never have made that approach. I apologize if that came out.
No apologies on the fucking jugular, okay? Stop this gay
All
shit.
right, let's go. We have Gnome requesting for speaker.
Oh, Gnome. Okay. You got him right. I'm retarded. I don't know how to do it. Okay. We got 5 minutes left if you guys want to alienate us on this little podcast we have going. Oh, he's connecting very slowly.
Oh, there we go.
He has Gnome
Very
interest.
slowly.
Yeah.
Woo!
But yeah, I was thinking of doing something like this. At first, I was going to do like a 15-minute rapid fire type interview, but I feel like this forum allows people to kind of just own their own element and to just have. I just want people to have fun, okay? And that's what I don't think I parted very well in my interview, but that's what I guess because it was the attention was on me and I didn't like it. I don't know. In any case, yeah, I want people to have fun. I did end up talking to Benjamin about just himself and like what he did. Like, damn it, I wish we just said too many like slur words for it to be, and he already stopped the recording. There are too many slurs. Gnome, what happened? Oh no.
I don't know. I approved his request 3 times.
Oh, shit. Well, we do have 3 minutes left. Do you have anything you wanted to say before we ended the episode 0 of the Jugular?
I could steel man gay incest for you if you want.
Oh, let's fucking do it, bro.
Okay, so
wait,
this is a
Gnome.
Gnome.
Come on. I think he's just gonna come on the stream to say
Oh no.
But I already said it, bro.
Oh, got him. So all right. Steel manning gay incest is actually really, really easy, right?
Yeah.
So the government should not institute any laws without having a reason to do so, like a very clearly delineated reason to restrict behavior from consent abiding citizens. Okay, and their methods for first off, whatever they're trying to restrict, there should be a clear reason for it. They should be able to delineate that. You should be able to ask them, and they tell you exactly why this should be banned. Then step 2, okay, their methods of trying to prevent that behavior should be delineated in the function of that law. You should be able to track whether or not it works over time, so that it can be reviewed and say, this law doesn't work, get rid of it, or it does, keep it going, or it needs to be changed. Third, purely moralistic viewpoints are not a good foundation for law in a country that cherishes freedom, right?
Yeah.
So two brothers or two sisters who want to go at it with each other aren't going to create children, right?
Yes.
The idea of criminalizing their behavior for doing so is completely nonsensical as adults, right?
Right.
Because it has absolutely no effect on anything. They're adults. They should be able to make their own decisions. They can fight each other in a ring, right? And break each other's bones and all sorts of other stuff. But God forbid they touch privates, because we think that's disgusting and nasty. And while most people would agree with that, that's fine. It's none of my business. So my opinion is completely fucking irrelevant, because they're not my privates, and they're not making like retard babies. It's not a thing. So there's literally no reason for the government to get involved.
You know what I was gonna say though is to actually you is that Hanny's question was, you know, why is gay incest bad? So I think your lawful interpretation works if we're talking about bad as in, you know, like we don't want the government to infringe, but it could just literally be people who think it's fucking gross. Like,
right. I mean, to say that it's bad, you have to be able to justify that it's bad in the first place, and I don't think it's either bad or good.
Yeah,
I think it's bad in the same way that male dogs hump each other. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it's weird, and like that's why I asked Hanny. I'm like, is there grooming involved? You know, are they adults? Like, just try to figure out, because the element that would make it bad in most cases is that there isn't really a situation where you're going to be approached for gay sex unless there is some sort of grooming involved, or it's entirely accidental, right? But like the grooming aspect is probably more likely, because it's like being gay is still stigmatized. So there's
right.
Yeah. So
well, and so that's the point too, that if you're being groomed, right, the sex isn't what's the problem, it's the grooming that's the problem.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Because once you can consent, you're able to have sex with most people, right? But that's a different issue.
Yeah.
So I can give you an analogy to it that I think will rile up even more feathers.
Okay.
So if you're a veterinarian or a horse breeder, and you jack off your horse to get that sweet horse cum, so you can stick it in a baster and go impregnate one of your mares, right? Totally legal, perfectly fine, nobody bats an eye. But all of a sudden, if you're just a fucking degenerate who likes to see horses, you go to prison?
I mean,
there's nothing functionally different about what you did to the horse. Some people would try to call that abuse, but the other one is not abuse, because, well, you had a medical reason. It doesn't fucking matter to the horse. The horse is just getting jacked. What difference does it make to the horse, right? So to Mr. Hands over in the Pacific Northeast, who was impaled by horse dick and died of his injuries, the horse was fine. So they couldn't charge the owner with animal abuse, because there was no abuse. The only abuse occurred in the man's anus being ripped apart. Right? So this is big ass dick, right? But that was his choice. So then now they institute laws that make it illegal for you to engage in sex with animals, period, regardless of what the outcomes are. And so we see the same thing happening in Florida, for instance, with a woman who no longer allowed to own pets because her little toy terrier or little fucking poodle dog or whatever, small dog, she would let eat her cooch. And it's weird, but
yeah,
it makes perfect sense when you think about it. That's a really effective strategy at getting free oral sex. And the dog is enthusiastic about it, because dogs will lick fucking anything. And pussies have some flavor, let me tell you. What interest does the state have in putting this woman in prison, which she has gone for? It's a real question.
Oh my God. I have fucking autistic AIDS.
And so that becomes the issue that the government
Go tie your
creates
shoes, dude. Go make more pasta. Fuck.
Anyway, there isn't a good answer. There isn't a good reason to prevent these kinds of behaviors specifically, other than we think it's nasty, which to me is invalid. In a free society. In a free society, if your dog wants to lick you in places that other people would find disgusting, I don't care.
Okay, Ricky Gervais. You're like, I don't care. That's not my friend. I don't know him.
They're not my balls.
Not my friend. Anyway, everyone, TB, thank you for literally alienating me from my own podcast. I appreciate it, bro. I'm never going to do this again. And thank you, everyone, who's still here. Gnome, I tried approving you, and TB also tried to approve you a bajillion times. I'm so sorry. You didn't get to say the N word time around, but I will make sure that you are the first one in, okay? Anyway, thanks again, everyone. TB, if you wanted to hop in on the next one, I'll just make sure to find a time. And I hope everyone has a great night. A recording will be up a little bit after this. I think it takes just a few minutes for it to go up.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been very fun.
Well, thank you. I also, too, had fun. I'm going to hit the music button and see if it does anything.